On this episode of Building Men, 10 things to change your life that require zero talent. Welcome to the Building Men podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Meralda. Hey, welcome to the Building Men podcast. My name is Dennis Meralda, and I am your host. This is episode number 34. I'm calling it 10 Things to Change Your Life That Require Zero Talent. I got the idea for this episode from an Instagram page called Fit Fathers and Men. The author of the page is a guy named Ben. Just recently connected with him. He has a really good page. Definitely check it out. All right, so here's what we're going to do today. Just a little bit before I get into the episode, I just wanted to just express my gratitude to a couple of people. One I wanted to talk about was the rebuild program that I started up in the middle of February. And the program it's been really game-changing for me. And there are 15 men in the group, and it has been a pretty cool experience. Two men in particular recently called me out. One of the things that we talked about at some point during our experience together was accountability. And everyone in the group put something out there that they wanted to be held accountable for. My two things that I was asking the group to hold me accountable for were, one, just, keeping up with my physical training, making sure that I was getting in 5 good training sessions every single week. And the second was to release 1 podcast a week for the remainder of the program, and then for the remainder of the year. My goal when I started the Building Men podcast was in 1 year to release 52 episodes. I wrote down 52 topics last year in June, and I started recording on July 1st. I'm a little bit behind schedule, but I figured if I can release at least 1 a week, maybe a little bit more for the rest of the year, I'll be able to hit my goal. So 2 guys in the group, I just wanted to express my gratitude to them. That's Tomas and Jeffrey. They both, at different points this week, called me out. They were like, hey, you said you were going to release 1 podcast a week. It's already Tuesday or Wednesday, and you haven't gotten the podcast out yet. Let's get your shit together and get it going. So, it's about being accountable. So I just wanted to make sure that I was getting this one out today, and then keeping up on my journey of getting 1 podcast out every single week for the remainder of the school year. I also wanted to express my gratitude to my brother Anthony, Sean Nixon, and Greg Lewis. We started working together on something called the Infinity Project, and it's been a pretty cool experience for me. If you haven't seen the Infinity Project on Instagram, you can definitely check it out and see what we're doing there. And just our journey together has been really an important one for me, learning about what we can possibly do in the future, and I just wanted to express my gratitude to those men as well. So as far as 10 things that you can do to change your life that require zero talent, I wrote down 10 things. I don't have really a script. It was just 10 things that I thought about after reading Ben's post on Fit Fathers and Men. They're not the exact same 10, but just 10 things that you don't need to have a specific skill set for. You don't need to do a lot of work in preparation for it. It's just, things that can change your life without any talent, basically. The first is being on time. I'm a big New York Giants fan. I know that is something I talked about in previous episodes, might rub people the wrong way, but that's my team. The Giants are my team. I bleed blue. And one of their previous coaches, Tom Coughlin, would say, if you're on time to a meeting, you're 10 minutes late. He would want everybody there 10 minutes early. So I thought about just the idea of being on time and what that communicates. It's really important. It shows that you care about whatever the topic is of the meeting, that you're a reliable person, and coming to that meeting prepared. It's showing a lot about who you are, your work ethic, making sure that you are bringing your best self to that meeting, and it'll make the meeting, whatever you're into, whatever that is that you're doing, it makes it a lot easier when you're on time and you're prepared. And the second thing I just mentioned was work ethic. Really having a good work ethic is one of the key things to being successful in whatever career or whatever path you're choosing in life. It shows that you're motivated, you're focused on the task. There's no reason why you can't be the hardest working person in the room. We talked about it on many different episodes, the idea of time and how much free time we actually have in life. And when you think about, if I'm, say, working for 8 hours a day and I'm trying to get about 8 hours of sleep, we have another 8 hours during the day that we can put into whatever we want to put that 8 hours into. It could be our health, our mental health, our physical health. It could be about reading, about learning, about growing. And when we think about those 8 hours in like little chunks of time, those 8 hours, there's 16 half-hour chunks of time. There's 32 15-minute chunks of time during those 8 hours. And think about what you can accomplish in these little brief 15-minute chunks of time. So work ethic is the second thing that you can put into play right away that doesn't require really any talent, is your work ethic. The third is your daily habits, daily routines that you have. Whatever they are, you need to have daily habits. It sets the tone for your day. It sets the tone for your life. I've spoken about my daily habits, and I'm not super rigid with all of them, but for the most part, I get up at 5 a.m. every day. I meditate every day. I do some type of a fast every day, intermittent fast where I don't eat, usually until afternoon every single day. I journal every day. I try to do some type of physical activity and train every single day. I try to express gratitude every single day to people, and I'll talk about that later on in the list. But whatever your daily habits are, just make sure you're consistent with them. It's not something that requires talent. It's just, making sure that you're accountable and also being accountable to other people. I've learned throughout this rebuild program that I started, that accountability piece. It's really easy to let yourself down, right? But when there are other people counting on you and there are other people saying, hey, you need to get your shit done, man. You put this out there. You gotta get going with it. That's another important piece as well. The fourth is your nonverbal communication. I'm going to do a whole episode about nonverbal communication. It is such an important topic to talk about. Being aware of your nonverbal communication is something that requires zero talent, but I guarantee you it'll make such a huge difference in your life. There's a study that was done by Stanford University. It was done probably 15, 20 years ago. And basically in the study, they talk about what percentage of communication is the actual words that are being spoken. So when we think about when we're talking to someone, the actual words that we're communicating, how much of communication is in those actual words? And what they realized in this study was it's less than 10% of our communication is the actual words that we're speaking. About 40% of the communication is the paraverbal communication. Paraverbal is the tone, the volume, and the cadence of the words that we're speaking. So we've heard many times in our lives, I'm sure, it's not what they said, it was how they said it. When you hear like kind of a tone or an attitude in someone's voice, that's paraverbal communication. And more than 50% of communication is nonverbal communication. And then nonverbal communication is your posture, your body language, your facial expressions, your hand gestures and movements, how you're positioned, where you're positioned. And so with the idea of body language, what I just wanted us to think about is, let's think about it first in a positive way. And again, I will talk about nonverbal communication. I'll do a whole episode dedicated to it. But two things that you can do right away for your nonverbal communication is, one, to be aware of it. And then two, there are a couple little things that you can do in a positive way. And they're going to sound kind of weird, a little bit quirky, but I'll tell you, that's how I prepare to do a podcast. And the first one is from a woman named Mel Robbins. She's a motivational speaker. If you don't follow her on Instagram, definitely check out Mel Robbins. She's tremendous. She's just a great speaker, great motivator, and the way that she communicates it's really accessible for everyone. So basically what Mel Robbins says is, every day in the morning in the bathroom, she looks at herself in the mirror, she gives herself a positive affirmation, and she gives herself a high five or a fist bump or something like that. And it's something that sounds silly, but I started doing this, and it's a game changer. Looking yourself in the eyes of the mirror and basically telling yourself you're going to have a good day, you're going to get after it, go kick ass today. So it's this like non-verbal thing, but as you're looking yourself in the eyes, it's been a game changer for me. The second one, this is going to sound goofy too. It comes from my daughter. Jules told me about this one. And it's this idea where this power pose. So picture like Superman with his hands on his hips, or Wonder Woman with her hands on her hips. And this idea is you do this for 2 minutes. You get into this kind of power pose. You close your eyes. You take in deep breaths through your nose, and then you breathe out through your mouth. And basically what it does, there's actually studies behind it. I looked it up this morning, and it's funny. There's studies about when you're feeling stressed, you take a few minutes before something big that's coming up in your life. You adjust your posture. You stand in this power pose, put your hands on your hips. You keep your chin up. You stick out your chest, and you breathe in through your nose and you breathe out through your mouth, like deep cleansing breaths. And supposedly the studies are that it raises your testosterone level, it increases your confidence, and it decreases the cortisol levels in your body and your ability to handle stress. And I started doing it. So if you drive by my house and I'm in the sunroom getting ready to record a podcast, you're going to see me standing out there like that Superman pose with my hands on my hips. But I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. So that's number 4, is that nonverbal communication, that like self-talk as well. Number 5 is energy. When you think about energy, that positive mindset, that really good energy, having that positive energy will kind of help you be the best version of yourself to achieve your goals. It allows you to have an open mind to things and try new things that are coming, explore different opportunities. And it's really contagious. When you're around someone with low energy, it's like a fun sucker. It drags the excitement out of the room. Conversely, when you're with someone with high energy, you just feel like you're in a better mood. And when you bring positive energy into a situation, whether it's a social situation, a work situation, it raises everybody else's energy in the room. And it's like this contagious compound effect that happens. So that's something that doesn't require talent, but it can bring out talent in other people, is when you have positive energy. Number 6 is your attitude. There's a quote that says, your attitude determines your altitude in life. You have an opportunity every single morning when you wake up to choose your attitude. You can choose to think about the negative things in life. You can choose to think about the problems that you have, or you can turn that around and you can say, you know what, I may have struggled with something yesterday, last week, last year, in the past, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to have a positive attitude, and I'm going to bring this positive energy into every single interaction that I have today, and it radiates. It will, just like energy, your attitude will radiate, and it will bring other people into that positive space as well. Number 7 is passion, being passionate. Listen, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, if you're not waking up and having some kind of a really passionate feeling about doing something positive in your life, maybe it's not your job, but it needs to be something. You need to have that passion that's driving you. It can make a huge difference in your mental state, in your health, in your emotions, even in your physical health, by having something that you're passionate about that's really driving you. It's not something that you can fake. You can't put on this mask or fake being passionate about something. It's something that everyone has. You just have to figure out what the hell yours is. Figure out what is your passion and then really move towards that. Number 8 is being coachable. So in this rebuild program that I've been doing for the last couple months, I'm working with people from all over the country, all over the world. There's 2 men that are in this group that are from overseas, one from England, one from Ireland. And it's so interesting to see that these are people that are very successful in their individual spots in life. Some of them are struggling to figure out what their next steps are. But they're so coachable, this group of men that I'm working with. When I speak to them, they have these ideas about what they want to do. And they're willing to try new things. They're willing to kind of step out of their comfort zone a little bit. So being coachable allows you to take constructive criticism, to try things. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe some of the advice that you're taking isn't going to work, but having that open mind to be able to maybe take an idea from another person and put it into part of your daily habit, your daily routine, and just listening to people, having conversations with people. So number 8, was being coachable. Number 9 is presence. Presence requires zero talent, but being present will allow you to experience life on a different level. Here's an example. Like, think about how many times, you're involved in a conversation and your mind is elsewhere. You're thinking about maybe how you're going to respond to the person's comment. Maybe you're thinking about a task that you have to do later on in the day. Maybe you're interacting with your phone or something like that. You have an opportunity. Every single interaction you have with another human being is an opportunity for connection, but you have to be in that moment. So that if you're interacting with someone, be in the moment. Make that the most important thing that you're doing. We've all been in a situation where we're talking to someone who could give a shit less what we're saying. And what that communicates is this: one, it communicates total disinterest. It communicates a level of disrespect. So if you're interacting in that way, check yourself right now. Think about, like, when you're in a conversation with someone, be present in that moment. Be present in that conversation. Be present at the task at hand. It's not about something that you have going on tomorrow. It's not about the bills you have to pay. It's not about an argument you had with your significant other. It's not about whatever the hell is going on Instagram. It's about being present with that person in that moment. So number 9 was presence. And the last thing that requires zero talent is expressing gratitude. I mentioned one of the men in the Rebuild group, Tomas. He just posted an audio clip in the Rebuild group, and he talked about gratitude in a really deep level. And basically he was saying how grateful he is just to be alive in a world where he can turn on the faucet and get water. He doesn't have to worry about sleeping where there are predators that are going to attack him. He was thinking about being able to, when it's hot out, to turn on the air conditioner, and when it's cold out, to be able to turn on a heater in his place of residence. He's thinking about gratitude on this really deep level as far as just basic human needs. And when you look around all the amenities that we have at our fingertips, we really need to be grateful. Things that people didn't have 100, 200, 300 years ago, that we have access to all these unbelievable things in our world, all this technology that makes our lives easier. So just being grateful for just our position in the world, that we're breathing every single day. And then being grateful to people around us, to relationships that we have, for mentors, for significant others, for our family. And really thinking about that every single day. If you take an opportunity to just write down something that you're grateful for and reach out to someone that you feel gratitude towards, it's a game changer. If you start today, every single day, reach out to one person. And it can be the same person multiple days in a row, but just reach out to someone and say, you know what? I'm really grateful to have you in my life. One, it'll make you feel great. I mean, when you're expressing gratitude towards another person, you have this rush. It's a real thing. You feel better when you're expressing gratitude. But 2, you're going to make a difference in someone else's day. So when we talk about that energy and that compound effect with energy, it's the same thing with gratitude. So when you're expressing gratitude towards another human being, I'll tell you, it's a ripple effect, and maybe they feel better about themselves based on something that you said or did, and they express gratitude to another human being. And that's one of those things that it can cause a movement. But it starts with one person just expressing gratitude towards another human being. So those are the 10 things that I have as far as just things that you can do to change your life that requires zero talent. It was being on time and being prepared was 1. 2 was work ethic. 3 were your daily habits. 4 was considering the nonverbal communication, that positive self-talk, and that Superman / Wonder Woman power pose. Try it out. I'm telling you, before you have something big coming up, try that out. It sounds silly. It definitely works. 5 was your energy. 6 was your attitude. 7 was your passion. 8 was the idea of being coachable. 9 was your presence. And 10 was expressing gratitude. That's what I have for you on Building Men. As always, you can reach out to me, Buildingmencoach @gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at building.men. A couple of people that I talked about today on the podcast. Look for Tomas. His Instagram is Masculinity Movement. Just an unbelievable page for for men to take a look at and to really consider your ideas around masculinity. I got the idea for the show from Ben from Fit Fathers and Men, again on Instagram. Definitely check that out. If you haven't done so already, start following the Infinity Project. You can definitely find that I post it all the time in my story on Instagram, but check it out, the Infinity Project. It's myself, my brother Anthony,